$35. A wall of soda cans and a sheet of glass, no lithium. It heats a room on winter sun. Which brings me to the claim in the title, $35, fully off-grid, and it still works in 26. In documented field trials, the air leaves the collector 40 degrees warmer than the room. No grid, no gas, as referenced in US patent filings from the early 90s. And here's the question nobody asks. Whatever happened to the people who built these at scale? Because the trail goes cold in the early 90s. And the last document I found answers it. My August electric bill in Texas ran $411. That's not a typo. And it got worse every July. I asked my HOA about rooftop solar, and the reply came back in capital letters. Panels were a visual modification, not approved. So the roof stayed bare and the meter kept spinning. Then a hurricane took the grid down for 9 days, and I stood in a dark kitchen watching a month of groceries go soft while the neighbors with generators hummed along. The rate hike letter from my utility arrived the same week the power came back. A polite note. That new transmission infrastructure would cost me $240 a year. Somewhere between the capital letters and the polite note, I decided I was done paying for electricity. I never got to choose. And what I found in the old files is the part nobody quotes. Here's the trap nobody prints on your bill. Your house runs on 2 systems at once, and you pay for both. Your furnace burns gas, and so does the plant feeding your outlets. In a typical gas-fired plant, according to federal efficiency numbers, roughly 2/3 of that fuel leaves as waste heat before it ever becomes electricity. Then another 5% or so evaporates on the wires in transmission and distribution losses. In coverage, I've read from the Energy Information Administration, now the bucket. The utility pours a full bucket of fuel into the plant. What arrives at your wall is a much smaller bucket, and your bill charges you for the full bucket poured in, not the smaller bucket that arrived. You pay for the steam out of the cooling towers and the heat shimmering off 1,000 miles of wire. A $35 wall of soda cans doesn't fix that system. It steps around it. The sun heats the cans heat the air heats the room. No bucket in between. Hold that picture, because the industry math gets interesting. So if it works, why does nobody sell it? Follow the money, quietly. In industry, estimates I've seen, the materials for a serious collector, glass, aluminum, paint, a small fan, come to a few $100s. Cans from a scrapyard, honestly, less. Now price a comparable piece of renewable infrastructure, a solar hot air system, a heat pump water heater, a home battery. According to installer pricing I've seen, the same physics, dressed in a brand and a warranty, sells for north of $10,000. A product that costs a few hundred to build and sells for 10 grand once it's categorized as renewable infrastructure carries a margin no company walks away from, and a $35 wall of soda cans threatens that margin exactly as much as it threatens the power bill. That's not conspiracy. That's spreadsheet math. If this kind of digging is your kind of digging, subscribe. I do one of these file dives a week, and the next one is already in the works. The idea is older than your grandfather's house. According to coverage I have read, a Swiss naturalist built a glass box solar oven in the 1760s and cooked food in it at altitude. A century later in Paris, a French inventor reportedly ran a printing press on steam made purely by mirrored sunlight. At the World's Fair of 1878, crowds watched it, and the cheap oil era quietly buried him. The can collector is the same physics flattened into a wall. Dark metal absorbs the sun, glass traps the heat, a fan pulls warmed air inside, and it never died everywhere. In coverage I have read, a Hokkaido rural cooperative ran a trial around 2009, heating greenhouse soil with recycled can collectors, and similar builds show up in off-grid forums across North America and Europe, in independent lab notes from people with nothing to sell. So the history is real, the price is pocket change, and at day 47 of running my own wall, I learned why the trail goes cold. Here's the answer to what I asked in the first minute. One last document survived my digging. A rural cooperative installation report from 2014, as cited in a community energy newsletter I read cover to cover. According to that report, a member-built collector array on a county maintenance building ran through a full recorded winter, cut the building's heating use by double digits, and needed almost no upkeep. And day 47 of my own winter lined up exactly. The collector worked, the room came up warm every morning, no meter moving. Then the report's final section did something strange. It quietly recommended stopping the program, citing administrative resources. Not performance, not safety. Administrative resources. The heat was free, the fuel wasn't, and the people whose revenue the free heat threatened had the paperwork. Read any United States patent filing from the early 90s and you'll see the same shape. The technology works and the record goes quiet. That's the moment you stop asking whether it works and start asking who it hurts. Now the comment section I owe you. Objection 1, it's only free when the sun shines and night is when you need heat. Fair. Tape that to the wall. This is a daytime and shoulder season machine, not a furnace replacement. Objection 2. On paper, its heat per square foot is lower than a heat pump's, also fair. But the number the showroom never prints is cost per summer. A heat pump costs thousands installed, and its compressor is a consumable part with a service life measured in years. The cans don't age. No moving parts, no refrigerant, nothing under pressure, nothing to replace. The only wear item is a $7 fan, and half the builds don't use one. Sure, the round-trip efficiency is lower than a lithium battery on paper, but the wall does not age. It does not need replacement. Over 20 summers, that single number wins. And in my own winter, the room stayed warm 3 hours after sundown, and my bill broke $200 for the first time in 3 years. So why is nobody using it? Not because it's hidden. The plans have been public for 150 years. Not because it's illegal. It's a box of cans and glass. Because of a quiet rule that governs everything in this economy. No industry spends marketing money on a device no one can own, lease, or meter for subscription revenue. A furnace earns a company money for decades. Fuel, parts, service contracts. A wall of soda cans earns nobody money, ever. And free heat isn't just free. It's unmeasurable, which is worse for the people who sell the alternative. That's the uncomfortable part of the word off-grid in the title. It's not that you can't have it, it's that nobody is paid to tell you that you can. Mount the collector on a south-facing wall and pull a permit if your county building department asks for one. Route the ducting inside through a screened intake and vent the warm air near the floor. Seal every joint with outdoor-rated high-temp silicone. Calibrate the fan to a small 12-volt panel so the whole loop stays off-grid. Register the exterior change with your HOA and read your CCNRs before you touch the siding. Verify clearances with your local fire marshal and call your state Public Utility Commission's residential interconnection desk if any wiring approaches house circuits. 3 red lines straight. 1. If you pair this with a propane or kerosene space heater, gas is in the building. Install a combustible gas detector and honor the spacing and ventilation rules in Chapter 6 of NFPA 58, the Public Domain Liquefied Petroleum Gas Code. 2. A heavy rooftop collector is a structural load. Check your framing before you bolt anything down, and if you ever bolt on an ASME-rated pressure vessel for heat storage, its inspection is on you. 3. Never backfeed house circuits from any panel or inverter without your utility's written approval. In most states, that's a violation that can get your meter pulled, and the fire marshal can order an unpermitted install removed. So ask first, and dial the interconnection desk before you flip any breaker. Your move, tomorrow, before coffee. Call the interconnection desk in your county and ask one question. Does this count as generation, storage, or neither? Then ask your state Public Utility Commission whether a solar thermal collector qualifies for the residential storage rebate. The answer varies by state. And when you're done, read the clearance pages of NFPA 58, Chapter 6 in the public reading room of your county library. Because if this one surprised you, the next one will break something you thought was solid.